which reminds me to click that button. And we will be sending out a follow-up email with the recording and then anything that Neil kind of mentions, if it's resources, links, all that kind of fun stuff as well within that email. So definitely look out for it. If it's not by end of this week, early next. But that's it from me. I'm going to pass it straight over to Neil to kick things off. So take it away.
Thanks so much, John. Yeah, and thanks to General Assembly for having me today. Yeah, and thank you all for coming. So yeah, I really appreciate it. So I've got a number of slides we're going to go through, and I'm going to give away as much value as possible. So please ask any questions. I'm going to quickly go into the agenda, what we're going to go through. And yeah, please keep it interactive. I've got a number of kind of exercises that we can do together. I'm going to cover kind of welcome to money tips, what we do. Because money is, there's a number of different compliance. I need to just cover a few things, and then we're going to get into the presentation. So yeah, thanks for joining us. So my name is Neil Doig. I'm the director and founder of Money Tips, and we stand for tax, investment, savings. So we are different. So we offer a new and unique solution to the problem with around money and people's stress and worry around money and people having not enough time in their day. So we aim to save people time in their day, save people stress and worry in their lives, and also we aim to save you money from a number of ways, avoiding costly errors. So before we get into the kind of the detail and the kind of the actual content, I just need to cover a few kind of important points. So we are different. We offer a new and unique solution. Money Tips educate, inspire, and we offer money coaching. So we empower you, the individual, to make better investing decisions. So most importantly, we guide, we don't advise. This is financial guidance and not financial advice. So it's not specific advice. And because of this, we can save hundreds of thousands of pounds for you by not paying expensive advice fees. And we'll go into touch on that a bit later. So we aim to provide the best quality education, and we offer evidence-based research. So anything we talk about is all based on evidence, the latest scientific research that we use, and it's based on Nobel Prize winning economists. So one of our benefits is we're impartial. So we are not owned by any corporations. We don't get paid any commission on any sales of financial products, and we're not promoting any products. Anything we mention is we're completely impartial, and it's in the benefit of the user or who we're trying to educate. So we believe in discount brokers or wealth managers before using fund managers, and anyone we mention is regulated by the Financial Conduct Authority in the UK. So we believe in long-term wealth creation, not get rich quick schemes. The main concern is the benefit of our clients. So we offer money coaching that gives you accountability to reach your financial goals. So that's the kind of about the regulations. And we're going to talk a bit about my story and where I come from. So we're going to talk about money mindset today, and essentially we're going to give you a few exercises to improve your money mindset. And we're going to touch a bit on what money mindset is just in a bit, but I'm going to just briefly talk about why you should listen to me, what my story is, and what my expertise is. So I started out in my first ever time I bought a share was during 1999. And the first share I ever bought was called lastminute.com. The irony of the name was lost on me at the time, along with the craze of the Tamagotchi and the Y2K bug. So in 1999, the world was going crazy over the internet bubble. No one could envisage what this internet was. We couldn't envisage what Amazon, what Netflix would, or even what a Google was. So I wrote a check during my school break. I wrote a check, and posted it to a city broker, called a city broker on a telephone, a payphone, put a 50p piece in, and bought my first share. I was like, wanting to get rich from this .com boom, thought this internet thing was going to be quite interesting, bit of potential, and yeah, bought my first share. Then about a week or two later, there was a sea of red across the TV screens across the world as the kind of .com boom turned into a bust. And you can kind of see from the graph, you can see that basically there was a famous kind of boom and bust that essentially I lost the £500 I'd saved up working at an ice cream shop during my school summer holiday. And I kind of decided at that time that this wouldn't happen to me again, that I would never want to kind of invest blindly into something I didn't really understand. So I decided to get really good at investing and educating myself. So I bought a copy of Rich Dad Poor Dad. If you've heard of that, just type in yes into the comments, by Robert Kiyosaki. It's kind of an iconic kind of book that people talk about. And yeah, essentially I educated myself. So then I moved to shipping after university. I graduated from university, moved to shipping, moving tankers around the world and buying and selling, moving tankers around the world, and moved to gas trading, where I'm buying and selling millions of pounds worth of gas each day. So gas, if you're turning your heating on at home, that's natural gas. And I was on a trading floor, kind of 8 screens around me, working 12-hour days, kind of questioning, do I want to be doing it for the rest of my life? And my biggest daily gain was £940,000 in one day for my company. And that was when a pipeline from Norway froze over and I had to source some gas from France. And got made redundant from that role. And it gave me an opportunity to say, actually, what do I want to do myself? I looked at my strengths, looked at my demand and what I enjoy talking about on kind of webinars like this, and decided to become a financial advisor. I did my qualifications and did my kind of practical exams. I was on an accelerator program, and essentially I had my portfolio of clients, and I had a kind of conscience moment where I was like, actually, do I want to help high net worth individuals save more tax? I thought, how many school books could that provide? How many hospital beds could that provide? How many library books could that give to people? And I thought, actually, I don't want to do this anymore. So I kind of had a Jerry Maguire moment and kind of left the kind of safe, secure corporate world and started my own company called Money Tips. It's called Tax, Investment, Property, Pension, Savings. I was shortlisted by the Financial Times. My book, Millennial Money Mindset, If You Want the Fruit, You Need the Roots, was shortlisted by the Financial Times in 2018. It was an Amazon bestseller in 2019, and it's available on Amazon today. Also created a card game, so called Football Formation Asset Allocation, and it teaches people how to invest around a football theme. And yeah, essentially that's my story to where we are today. So my company called Money Tips. So we aim for good quality education, and we educate and inspire, and we offer money coaching. That's just a bit about myself before we get into the meat of the talk. So anyway, coming back to that, I thought dot-com boom crashed. This graph goes all the way back to 1789. So while I was kind of stressing and worrying about buying the market, actually, if you look back to the 17th century, the market generally moves up over time. So if you think of it, moves up because people are solving meaningful problems. There's human ingenuity. There's new problems that need solving, and this is what businesses create. So if you're buying shares or buying shares, this is essentially what you're doing. And so one big takeaway from today: if you're going to reduce your risk by 60%, don't buy one share. So you can reduce your risk by 60% by buying a basket of goods. So today it's never been simpler, easier, or cheaper to start investing. And we're going to talk more about this later on. But yeah, don't buy lastminute.com like the 18-year-old Wally that I was at the time. If you buy it today, it's never been easy. You couldn't do that at the time. But yeah, you can essentially buy index funds or trackers that will reduce your risk, that takes this kind of pain that I suffered 20 years ago during the dot-com boom to today. So yeah, that's just a graph that shows that generally markets move up over time. You can see there's a tiny little blip where the dot-com boom was, and you can look back into the 30s. And if you cast forward to the Corona crash, there'll be a dip as well. But yeah, over time, bet on you're investing in the long term, then you're investing 10, 20 years. It's actually less risky to invest than keeping money into. So this is a quick graph as well. So I used to be a financial advisor, and I didn't feel comfortable essentially charging crazy amounts of fees. So if you're charging financial advice fees just by topping up your lifetime allowance, if you have a look at this, if you put your ISA, which is £20,000, if you're investing, I used to charge 5% initial fee as a financial advisor and then 1.9% ongoing fee. And if you just look how much financial advisors charge, you're going to lose hundreds of thousands of pounds over your investing lifestyle. So I didn't feel right charging financial advice fees when all people needed was better education and better coaching. So that's essentially what I offered, or what I'm offering at the moment. So right, money mindset. So what is people's thoughts on money mindset? So I think it's the most important thing you can understand about investing. Investing is anything with a pound coin in your back pocket. So money mindset is having more space and time on your day to focus on the more important things. And maybe this is your business, maybe it's your family, maybe it's just having more me time, having more time to do the things that you love doing. So money worries tops a poll as the biggest stress trigger for 25 to, it says 40, but 45-year-olds. So today everyone's feeling stressed and worried around money. And this was a poll done in 2018, and I think it's become even more stressful around money. So people are, now we've kind of entered into a recession, and there are more worries around the coronavirus. So people are more worried and stressed about money. And it's one of the things that once you get handled and once you understand about money, once you learn about how money works, it reduces your stress and worry, and it gives you better quality life. So this is essentially what I'm aiming to do. So as we mentioned before, by just using without using financial advice, where you're getting specific advice, rather we offer money coaching, or if you just understand how to invest, you can save hundreds of thousands of pounds over your lifetime. And this is according to a Times report. And also if you look at that calculator as well, you can essentially save this money by not paying expensive financial advice. This is financial fund managers who are paying for expensive offices, paying for expensive lunches, or their suits in the city. So you can save this, and essentially this money is going to go into your pocket rather than a fund manager in the city. So time is our most precious asset as well. So what I teach is long-term investing. So there's a big difference between trading and investing. So trading is buying and selling on the hope that someone else will pay more for it. So if you think of the Hollywood image of trading, sometimes this kind of the Wolf of Wall Street, you kind of have this image of 8 screens around you. This is what I was doing on the trading floor. This is very different to investing. So trading is quite risky, whereas actually investing is actually quite boring, believe it or not. It's a process and doing the right things at the right time over the long term. And this means that you don't need to spend your evenings or weekends searching for the latest stock price. You don't have to spend your time looking at graphs. So if you're investing, it's actually just setting up a process and you can automate it really easily today. And it's about doing simple things well. And it's about investing. You can invest in a way that's going to smooth out the ups and downs of the market. And I can talk about that later on by using things like what I call diversification. And it's using what I call different asset classes. And we'll touch on this later on. Essentially, you want to have the time, freedom, and control to enjoy your life to its full potential. This might be spending more time with friends, family, or doing what you want with your life. So this is what investing is all about. So essentially, investing is giving up something today for having something for tomorrow. So this might be investing your time, it might be investing your money, or it might be investing your energy, your expertise, or anything like that. It's gonna pay off in the long term. So this might be having more holidays, more experiences. The point of better management is helping you get the life you want. So you want to be feeling in control and secure around your money. So money mindset, which I think is the most important thing to get handled, essentially what this talk today is all about, and what we're going to help you improve today, is having your thoughts, your feelings, and the decisions you make around money. And it's the relationship you have with money. So this is, super important. I'm going to look at some of the chat to see if I can. Please ask any questions along the way. So this is a quote from Daniel Priestley, and he's an entrepreneur, he's an author. And he's saying, what's taking place is a revolution. So everything as you know it in the coming years, the nature of work, lifestyle, and wealth is changing faster than ever before. So I don't know if you've noticed it as well. Things are happening much quicker than they did. Even so 10, 20, 30 years ago. Things are happening really quickly today. So even from this time last year, with the coronavirus, doing these talks online now, even this video, this picture that I used this picture for last year, these guys aren't social distancing anymore. They're not wearing a mask. So things are changing really, really quickly. And it's up to you, the individual, to start learning and understanding how to make your money work for you rather than you working for your money. So yeah, just the nature of work, lifestyle, and wealth is changing faster than ever before. Okay. So why invest? So you might be sitting at home thinking, why bother investing? So the 3 reasons why you should invest. So improving is life, freedom, and the pursuit of happiness. So investing is, as we say, you can just put a pound coin, starting to save. You can put a pound coin into the stock market. You can start saving up for a house. This is investing. So it's essentially you're putting off today for your future self tomorrow. So think of looking in the mirror tomorrow or in 30 years' time. Imagine your 6-year-old self looking back at you. So you want to have a better quality of life tomorrow than today. So you might save a portion of what you earn tomorrow to give yourself a better lifestyle. So this might be having more holidays. You might have more, better going out for dinners. You might have going out for living somewhere nicer, living in a town or a city that you want to live in. So that's your life. So freedom as well. So we're going to touch on it in later on, but essentially financial independence is really important today. So in the old days, they called it retirement, but today I think that the most important thing you should be aiming for is to become financially independent. So you essentially have enough assets that we're going to talk about assets later on, but essentially assets are things that puts money into your pocket. This can be shares, property, things that are called bonds, where you're lending money to companies or governments. So this is assets that are going to pay you an income for when you stop working. So this is investing. So the point of investing, so the 3 things, so life, improving your life, so having freedom having the time to spend how you want to, doing what you want to in life, and then the pursuit of happiness. So it's more about what's life about. It's about doing things that's going to make you happy ultimately. And that's what I talk about in my book, Millennial Money Mindset. It's actually the concept. It started off as an investment book, but it's actually, I kind of discovered actually life is more important than that. It's actually more about happiness, spending time with friends and family, having time to yourself. So so why invest? So today it's, as we mentioned before, it's completely different than it was in our parents' generation or say 10, 20 years ago. So in the old days, you used to work at a job, and at the end of that job, you would exchange your time and then you'd get a guaranteed income for life, what they call a pension. So you used to get a guaranteed income for life. So then every month you'd go and collect your pension, and you didn't even have to think about the stock market. You didn't have to worry about investing, because you would get a check in the mail, or you'd get money into your bank, and you wouldn't even have to think about investing because you would have a pension. Your company would pay you a pension, or your government would pay you a pension. So today, if you go to your bank, you put money into a bank, you're going to get next to nothing on your interest rates. I think interest rates are like 0.25% or whatever the last change to the Bank of England was. Essentially, you're getting next to nothing. And the inflation, which is essentially the eroding, it's a spending power in your back pocket, is so how much you can buy with that pound coin in your back pocket. That's inflation is being eroded every day. So if you put money into a bank today, in a year's time, that's going to be worth less than if you actually invested previously. So that's worth less than if you just inflation, that pound and coin in your back pocket is going to be worth less than if you put it into an investment account or something like that. So also, house prices today are crazy. I'm sure we're all aware of that. So if you go and try and buy a house, you're either going to get a postage stamp version, like the size, you're going to get next to nothing, or it's kind of crazy prices. So house prices have risen 500% in London since the 1990s, which is kind of insane. So most people can't afford, the average person, with an average wage can't afford the average house, which is, yeah, it's nothing we can do about that at the moment. But yeah, unfortunately, it's just part of how house prices are kind of crazy. So yeah, very little government pension. So if you pay in, you pay the national insurance. If you pay in every year over 25 years, you'll get £8,000 as your pension in your when you're 67, which is nice. £8,000 a year might be fine, but it's not probably going to be enough to live on for the rest of your, it's not going to be good enough to kind of live on, well with your kids and stuff like that. So you need to actually understand how you do this. And there's also company pensions what they're called defined benefit pensions. And essentially there's been fewer and fewer of these around anymore. Essentially there's a pension cliff edge coming up where people aren't putting enough money for when they stop working. So there's 11.5 million people in the UK have less than £100 in savings or investing. And that was by the Money Advice Service. And so, yeah, essentially there's a big problem that this is essentially what I'm looking to solve. So by coming on doing webinars like this, trying to educate people and trying to encourage people to start investing, start saving for themselves, to give themselves a better life in the future. So there's a movement called FIRE. Has anyone heard of FIRE? Just say yes. So which stands for Financially Independent and Retire Early. And it's quite a nice acronym, but it basically means, so financial independence, where it's essentially where you have enough assets. So assets, as we mentioned before, are shares, property, or bonds, where you're lending money to companies or governments. You've got enough of these assets that are going to pay you an income for where you stop working. So in the old days, they used to get a pension. Those kind of days are over. Today, you need to have assets that are going to pay you an income. So today, there's a thing called number of different laws that have come in that basically changed since over the number of years. And so this may be a bit boring, but I'll quickly go over this. So essentially, there's a thing called auto-enrollment. So you're now auto-enrolled into a pension. So if you work at a job, you're now automatically enrolled into a pension. This is great news. It means you don't have to think or worry about actually doing this anymore. But you do have to work out what are you investing in. And so that's one, that's auto-enrollment. And there's number two is what they call pension freedoms, which came in 2015. And this basically means that you're now in charge of your pension, which is also great news. You get to decide about what's in that pension. It's just, we can go in, if this doesn't make sense or if I'm not explaining it, I can go into this in more detail in the question and answers. But essentially think of it like a piggy bank. Like a piggy bank, you put money in, and at the end of it, at the end of your working life, when you retire, you can't get this money out until you retire. When you retire, you basically smash this pig, and then you have access to the funds inside, if that makes sense. That's a pension, essentially. So that's why it's different. So why is it today? So financially independent, so it means you have the freedom to choose how you live your life, free from stress, from worries, and get to choose how you spend your time. So you get to choose how to live your life. So you can essentially work. The idea is once you have enough assets, you can end up working for joy rather than working necessity, or you can do whatever you want with your time. You don't have to have a job to go to because you've got enough assets that are going to pay you an income. You have more stability in your family. You can wake up every morning and feeling like it's the weekend. So how does that sound? Right. So think of it, I'll use the analogy. I love using analogies because I'll make it sound really simple and easy. So investing today is a bit like learning to drive. So it's a bit of a bummer that you have to learn a new life skill. So everyone's more busy. We're living more complex lives than ever before. And now you're saying, Neil, I'm busy enough. Now I've got to learn this whole new skill. Unfortunately, yeah, you do. It's a bit like learning to drive. It's quite simple. It's quite easy. And once you have experience doing it and you've done it for a few times, it's actually, the secret is actually quite easy. So, but before you get in a car, you're looking under this bonnet and you're like, what's all these pistons, this engine? It looks really complicated. It looks really scary. You're asking me to sit in this car and not just sitting in it, but you want me to drive my own investing vehicle. And yeah, I am. But so all they are investing vehicles, and it doesn't matter what investing vehicle you use. You can put you can go the speed you want. So you can take the slow scenic routes, the slow scenic route is going to take you there longer, or you can take the ups and downs of the mountainous routes, which is like the ups and downs of the market. You can invest more, you can take more risks with your investments, which means it's going to be more ups and downs. So if you've seen the recent crashes, in the Corona crash, whenever that was, back in March or April, that was more ups and downs. You might get that if you've been invested in that, you might be really scared, because that's kind of a human emotion. But it's actually, you can choose your risk profile. So think of it like a gear stick. You can actually go quite slowly in the first gear, but if you've got, the great thing is, the younger you are, the more risks you can take, the longer you've got time frame to get to your end destination. So just think of it like a road trip. So you've got to plan for your road trip. You've got to have enough of an emergency fund, so cash in your bank that's going to cover you for any emergencies, just like starting a road trip. So like a road trip, you want to have an emergency fund of food, water. You want to have petrol in there in your tank, so you don't have to kind of stop all the time. So it's just, and once you understand how to invest, you can go anywhere you want. You can essentially pick any destination you want to. So you can start to drive, the wind in your hair, freedom to go wherever you want to. And this is great news. So right now, I've done enough talking, so it's back to you. So I'm going to do a quick exercise now, and hopefully we've got enough time we can squeeze it in. Essentially, we're going to ask you 3 questions, and you're just going to write this down. So you've got to use your imagination here. So I'm a big fan of a guy called Peter Drucker. He's kind of a business writer, and he says we greatly overestimate what we can achieve in a year and greatly underestimate what we can achieve in 5 years. And this is really telling with this last year. Everyone's like, 2020, it's been like a write-off. But like, if we picture where we're going to be in 5 years' time, this is really important. And there's a financial planner called George Kinder, I'm a big fan of, and he asks these 3 questions. So if you've got a piece of paper, just write this down. So yeah, so imagine you hold in your hand a winning lottery ticket. So money is now no object. You have enough money to last the rest of your life. So everything is perfect financially. So you never want to run out of money again. How would you never run out of money. How would you spend your time? And just start jotting this down. What would you spend with your time? Where would you be living? What would you be doing? Yeah, just start jotting this down. Let me know if you're doing this. Let me see if you're, yeah. And then the second question is, a doctor tells you you've got 5 years to live. What would you do with your time left? Would you change anything? How would you change your life? And then finally, the third question is, the doctor tells you you've only got 24 hours left to live. So what do you miss? What do you regret not doing? And what do you get not to being? So yeah, just maybe just write down, if anyone wants to write these in the chat, or just give me a shout if you're doing this, like a thumbs up or something. Is everyone doing that? Maybe just give me, okay. So I'll just give you a few more minutes. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't have to be. And the next, it kind of links in. So does anyone want more time? Is anyone doing this? It's kind of going to link in with the next. Essentially, there's 4 areas that you want to focus on. So family, lifestyle, career, property, and you could even draw this out yourself. So think of it like a short-term, medium-term, and long-term. So short-term is probably 3 to 5 years, or well, maybe short-term is maybe 1 to 3 years, medium-term maybe 5 years, and then kind of long-term is 5 to 10 years, maybe plus where you're going to be. Yeah, just start planning out your life plan. Someone did this to me. I had a financial coach do this to me, a money coach do this to me, and I've still got the piece of paper. And it's amazing how it's like a map to your life. It's quite amazing to see how things kind of work out. Like once you start writing these things down, it's kind of like, not to get too kind of woo-woo and kind of like into it. But like once you start writing things down, it's amazing how, and you focus on that and do action each day. And then you can actually, medium term, maybe I've just seen so maybe short term is 1 to 3 years, medium term is maybe 3 to 5 years, and then long term is kind of 5 years plus. It depends where you want to get to. It depends where you want to plan for. So sometimes I meet with people and they're all in planning for their retirement in their 60s, so it might be much further out. But just getting kind of a goal to head towards is really powerful, because you can kind of actually start doing action each day or start focusing on where you want to get to, and it kind of gives you an end destination of rather than using the car analogy. Right, if you just get out in the morning and just start driving. I think, just to answer that question, I think there will be a link to the recording. So I'm just looking at the question. So coming back to that, the car analogy, rather than just getting in and driving and then just not knowing where you're going to head off, having a plan, having an end in mind is really important, because you can actually focus on where you want to get to, and then you can understand that, take the risks you want to take. If you don't like taking risks, you can take much more time with your investing. So hopefully that was useful. A few more minutes. Is everyone finished? I'm just mindful of time, so I've just skipped a slide. This is one of the most powerful slides I've ever come across, or one of the most powerful pictures I've ever come across. So it's not my picture, it's from the book Rich Dad Poor Dad, which I mentioned at the start. So there's a guy called Robert Kiyosaki. He's written like 16 books and he's sold like 15 million copies. I mentioned him in my introduction. But think of this like, if you're going to understand, and he uses rich and poor example word. I don't necessarily agree with using rich and poor, but essentially what you want to be doing, your earnings, as you increase through your career, you generally tend to get paid better. You get paid better in your 40s or your 30s and 40s than you did in your 20s, because you've got more skills and more experience. So your earnings will go up, and as you invest more, so you're going to invest more into shares and property, etc. Even if you've got money in your pension, you're going to contribute more to your pension as you work more. So your earnings will go up, and the secret is to make sure that your expenses don't go up with that. They call it like lifestyle creep, and I'm guilty of this myself. The more you get paid, you're like, oh, I can afford a nice new holiday, I can afford more expensive shoes. My point isn't that if you love expensive shoes, then that's fine. Like, I'm not saying don't do that. If you love expensive holidays and you like to treat yourself, that's fine. That's not necessarily my point. But I guess my point is keeping those expenses below your earning less than you spending less than you earn is one of the most powerful things you can do with your money. So spending less than you earn, and that's essentially what you want to be doing. So you want to be keeping your expenses low, and then your earnings will creep, and that's where you're going to start to get increased assets. And I haven't really touched on compound interest. Maybe I should have touched on that, but essentially compound interest is, I don't know how much, but Albert Einstein calls it the most powerful force in the universe. It's super important, especially when you're investing. And essentially it's the interest on your interest. So the idea is, if you've got £100 and you invest that £100 and you get £5 back, either that in shares, or in the old days you used to get 5% interest in a bank, and then the next year you'll get interest on that £105. And over time, it kind of snowballs. And if you see this earnings graph here, that's the idea. So essentially, you're going to be investing, and then it's going to grow up. You're going to benefit from this compound interest. And this is where you're going to start getting kind of the real benefits from investing. So hopefully that makes sense. So I've just seen, oh, sorry, the chat, I just want to see. So what do you include in expenses? So great question. So I use, sorry, let me go back. So there's a really good model that I use, and it's not my model. And I think so. I forget her name, but she was in Congress, and essentially the best model I ever thought of. I'm going to draw it for you now. So you've got wants, needs, and investments. So 50% in needs, 30% in wants, and then 20% in investments. Oh, it's not a very good graph, actually. Sorry. Oh, yes, it's actually a terrible graph. But hopefully you can see. So you asked what your expenses. There's no right or wrong answer here. That's the thing. Like, there's no right or wrong answer. Yeah, it's easy for me to say and not to do. But a real powerful model, I should have maybe put that in the next slide, in another slide. But yeah, 50% in wants. So when I say wants, I mean, so your living costs, your food costs, your where, water, maybe even transport to get to work. That's your kind of your wants. And then so that's 50% of your income. This is after tax. You get taxed on that. And then after that, then it's so wants is 30%. This is your buying your shoes or buying your holidays. And then after that is 20% on investing. That's a real good model to use. Obviously, it's easier said than done, and that's kind of but then there's easy ways to do that, looking at kind of these expenses. So hopefully that answers your question. So covering and mindful of time as well. So yeah, coming back to these are financial advice fees. So we used the example of an ISA previously, where if you're just putting £20,000 into an ISA, but if you're putting £100,000 and £500, this is where it's going to jump up to, you're going to spend like hundreds of thousands. This is £400,000 on just financial advice fees, which is kind of crazy. So yeah, I'm mindful of time, so I'm kind of jumping forward because I'm going to leave a bit at the end for question and answers. So this has been useful. So this is a model that I've used, which I base it on what I call Maslow's hierarchy of needs, which is one of the most important models that I use or what I've come across. So I don't know if you've ever heard of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, just write yes or write yes to know how much I want to give on it. Sometimes there's a number of like corporate events where you go in and they always bang on about Maslow's hierarchy of needs. But I guess I want to highlight how important it is. I think it's one of the biggest discoveries in the last 100 years. It's a bit like where people, discovering gravity. It's almost as where kind of not just Newton understood the kind of the apple, but essentially I've used it. I've got a little model here. Maybe if this is going to work, but I've got like a whiteboard to see. Maybe this isn't going to work, but essentially, yeah. You've got your basic needs back here. So your food, water, sleep, air. Then you've got your kind of bigger needs, your kind of safety needs, shelter, home. Then you've got your kind of bigger needs, which are kind of, this is like belonging, friendship, community, love, etc. And then esteem, which is like accomplishment, self-worth. Then self-actualization, kind of being your best self. And then there's like one other need that kind of Maslow, they don't talk about. It's like, they say it's self-transcendence, which is essentially giving back, thinking yourself something bigger than yourself. This may be giving to charity. This may be working on a community garden patch, or kind of giving your money back to your children or your grandchildren or to charity. So coming back to this model here, so essentially I use a similar kind of model I've kind of taken from Maslow. So first of all, check if you've got insurance. So if you've got debt or dependence or desire for insurance, so this is if you've got a house, your debt doesn't die with you, so it's important to kind of cover that for insurance. If you've got children, then it's important to cover that, your insurance. Or if you've got desire, if you've got kind of, you can do things like income protection, that it's going to cover you. It's a peace of mind thing, that's if anything happens to you, you can cover that. Then building up a savings buffer of starting with just £1,000 savings in a cash savings account, up to ideally 3 months of cash, 3 months of expenses. This is going to cover you for any emergencies, and this is your emergency fund. And this is going to be a real peace of mind. This is coming back to the, having enough, coming back to the car analogy, having enough kind of petrol in your tank to get you to where you want to get to, and having savings. I know it's maybe easier said than done to build up a savings kind of buffer, but once you get past that, that's kind of a big milestone. Then you start investing, putting money into the stock market, starting with a pound coin in your back pocket, and then becoming financially independent is where you see yourself as a business system that's going to essentially pay you an income for where you stop working. So hopefully that makes sense. Think of yourself like a business rather than individual, and then think of yourself like, then you start understanding cash flow, so money coming in, you invest that for your future, a bit like a business. Hopefully that makes sense. Maybe that's a bit advanced, but happy to answer any questions about that. And then finally, giving back, essentially giving back to charity, or giving back if you're like in your 60s and 70s, for instance, is maybe a bit far ahead at the moment, but in your 60s and 70s, then you start giving to your children or giving to your grandchildren, etc. So that's mindful of time. So what I offer money coaching. So if you're interested in money coaching, I give 3 one-to-one 90-minute sessions. I do one-to-ones, I do group coaching as well. And the aim is I use what I call a football formation. So think of it like each player is like an asset class where you have a defense, a midfield, and attack, and you build your team, your investing team around what you want out of life. So you have a defense, a midfield, and attack. So if you're in your 70s, for instance, you might want a much more defensive strategy, because if you're in your 20s, you're 25, you've got more time on the pitch of life to ride out the ups and downs of the market. So if you live a good life, you live to 90 years old, like 90 minutes on the pitch. If you score a goal, money goes into your pocket. If you can see the goal, money goes out of your pocket. And essentially, it's offer this course. It's off improving your confidence, understanding the biggest money mistakes to avoid costly errors, kind of telling you about any myths. There's so many myths around investing and trading and things like that. So kind of dispel any myths to kind of avoid making costly errors, giving you security where you're heading financially. We create an investment plan. We do what we did previously, kind of going into the investment plan, understand where you want to get to, and that's really powerful. Reducing stress and worry around money and improving your money mindset. We don't charge financial advice, so we can save you kind of hundreds of thousands of pounds over 20 years. And we help you implement your plan. So we work with you. So we offer a done with you service rather than a done for you service. So by that, we sit one-to-one and help you, kind of coach you with your investing. We tell you about different investment vehicles, which kind of brokers you can use, or which kind of providers or products you can use. We don't have any, as I said, we're totally impartial. I don't get any commission from that. My main benefit is for you to give you good quality education. And then we automate all that. So you don't have to think or worry about that for 6 months. So you can spend your time doing the things you love doing. And I call this football formation asset allocation. We work through a 5-step method to money mindset. So what, owning yourself. So think of yourself as a business system, and then automating it, and then paying yourself first, then getting a cash buffer to cover any emergencies, especially with this coronavirus. Everyone must be aware that having an emergency fund is really important these days. Then creating a life plan to where you want to get to. You write down your goals, your 5-year goals. Then diversify your assets. So having 5 of these. So all of these might seem a bit daunting to have all these different players, but just you pick 5, pick your most kind of 5 that interest you the most. And then we rebalance, which sounds complicated, but essentially it's putting your assets back into formation that's right for you. So yeah, that might sound complicated, but basically it's reviewing your portfolio every 6 months to a year. And then, I'm mindful of time because I'm going to want to make sure there's enough for questions and answers. So money tips, we plant a tree for each book bought. So if you can go on Amazon today, you can buy Millennial Money Mindset. If you want the fruits, you need the roots. You can buy it in print, Kindle, or there's even an Audible version. So you can go and listen to it. If you're going out for a walk or something like that, you can just go and listen to it. and just get information really quickly. So we plant a tree for every book bought and 5 trees for every coaching program purchase. That gives us, helps us for any books printed, also helps increase biodiversity and helps us fight climate change. I won't go too much into this, but essentially I've offered bronze, silver, gold, platinum package. There's my price list, but yeah, send me an email if you're interested. I'm not going to kind of here to sell those to you, but yeah, there's different. I've got an online course. I've got gold packages. My 2-day when coronavirus comes back, we're going to do a 2-day. Come back when all this kind of coronavirus goes away. We're going to do a 2-day weekend where we're going to teach you how to essentially get people into a room, have accountability, teach them how to invest. We'll have an interactive 2-day session where people have around the environment and where you'll be in an environment where you'll be able to invest with similar groups of people. Yeah, and this is my money card game that I've got. Yeah, I'm more mindful of time. So that's my board game card. But yeah, send me a message if you're interested. So yeah, hopefully that was a bit of a whistle-stop tour. So hopefully I've kind of packed loads in. So hopefully you kind of understand there. I'm happy to answer questions now. So but yeah, please follow me I'm on Instagram. So you can either type in money tips with 2 P's. So have a look for me, like my face is there. Or if look at the handle is millennial with 2 L's and 2 N's _money_mindset, or follow me on LinkedIn. So money tips, or just type in Neil Doig, NEILDOIG. I'm on Facebook. Yeah, please like me on Facebook. So I've got podcasts. So I've got 3 seasons of podcasts. We've got, last season was I interviewed kind of the money experts. So a number of money experts who are kind of, we give away loads of value, we just chat and have loads of value about investing. The scene before was where we interviewed authors. And then the first season was with ITV's Antoine Allen. So he presents Good Morning Britain on ITV. And it's me and him, yeah, talking about kind of the basics of investing. We have, I've just got a chat, these chats are popping up. So let me just, question and answers. Yeah, please. What do you include expenses? Yeah, hopefully I've answered that question. So there was a question saying, what do you include in the expenses? So we talked about, yeah, 50% of needs, 30% of wants, and then 20%. So it's not a very good diagram, actually. So yeah, when your money comes in after tax, so if you're working for a company, that will get taxed automatically, pay as you earn, and then you will get from that 20%. So I think called Pareto principle is, yeah, so 20% is investing. So the next question is, do you think bank ISAs, help to buy, etc., have good investments, or investing in the stock market is better? So good question. So there's no right or wrong answer here. And it's just to clarify, this is guidance, not advice. So do your own research. So ISAs are brilliant. I think ISAs, I love ISAs. So ISAs are great because they're tax efficient. So ISAs are individual savings accounts. So you don't pay for capital gains tax in an ISA, and you don't pay for dividend tax, which is great. And so this, this wrapper is going to get, your money's going to grow much quicker. So if you are investing into the stock market, 100% put that in. First 20,000 gets into an ISA. So put that into an ISA. When you say help to buy ISA, so I have mixed feelings about ISAs. So help to buy, I write about this in more detail in my book. I personally think it's a bit of a policy, it's a political policy, the help to buy scheme. It's more as a help to sell scheme for developers to sell their houses to other people. I think There's a number of different, be careful of the, there's a number of different clauses in there. So you can't rent out Help to Buy scheme. If you've got a Help to Buy scheme, you do a Help to Buy ISA, for instance, you can't rent out your property. So I've got a client at the moment who wants to move out the UK, and they want to rent out their property, but they can't do that because they've got a Help to Buy ISA. And as part of that package to Help to Buy, they can't rent out their property. So there's a number of different other things like lifetime ISAs, LISAs. They can work for you. If they work, you get essentially free money, which can be good, but be careful because, yeah, essentially it's getting that money back. The access might not be, it might not be, it's like almost like a free cookie that the government give you. It's almost like it's an election sweetener rather than being good for the individual. It can make it work for you. I personally love the original ISA, stocks and shares ISA. I'm like a massive fan of that. I've invested in that stocks and shares ISA every year for the last 10 years or 15 years. So I like simplicity. There's a number of different, I think there's 4 different types of ISAs now. And some of them are good, like the stocks and shares ISA. There's like an innovative finance ISA, which is good, but you can only invest in kind of peer-to-peer lending, whereas the stocks and shares ISA does everything. So I'm a big fan of stocks and shares ISA. So let me reading the questions. Do you run specific workshops focused on area like property? Yes, I can do that. I've bought properties in the past, and I'm currently going through a property at the moment, buying a property at the moment in Oxford. Yeah, I can definitely do those. I can tailor workshops to anything really. I'm currently writing my second book, and I'm writing about property in my second book. Then, which is my second book's going to be called Football Formation, Asset Allocation. So any other? I think we're kind of wrapping up. So I'm happy to answer any more questions or go through anything that I didn't make sense. I kind of rattled through quite a lot of those quite quickly. So yeah, hopefully that was useful to you. Please, yeah, subscribe to my channel on my podcast, my YouTube. My YouTube channel's got about 60 videos on there giving away loads of value. So subscribe to my YouTube channel. That's probably the best place to find really good information. On my podcast, season 3, go and check those out. Connect with me on LinkedIn or connect with me on Instagram. If you're interested in, I guess time is everyone's precious asset. If you want just to say, right, I just want to get my finances sorted, I'm stressed and worried. If you just want to I do essentially 3 99 sessions for money coaching. We go in and essentially we tailor a life plan, we get your goals, and then we build a portfolio team around you, and we implement your plan as well. So we go in and I sit next to you and watch you press the buttons and make sure you're comfortable pressing all the buttons, because it's stressful, it's worrying. And I think the big thing today, there's so many options, which is a good thing, but you can be kind of bombarded with hundreds of different products and providers, and it's confusing what to buy and what not to buy. And almost we have a kind of a paradox of choice where we almost have too many options, too many choices. And what I tend to do, I kind of limit the options to give you 1 or 2 options or 3 options to really help reduce your stress and worry. Yeah, hopefully that's been useful. And yeah, please, is there any other questions? Please answer. And also, I was going to say, I give away, I've got how to automate your finances to give you more me time. So it's a free course I give away. It takes about 40 minutes. So think of it like doing it you can do it in your lunchtime, you can do it after work. And it's a free course that I give away. I've had 1,000 people sign up for it this year, which is amazing. I'm kind of bombarded, but I'm amazed at how many people signed up for it. So thank you to everyone who signed up for it, if you're one of them. But yeah, I'm amazed at how many people signed up for that course. I also do, if you just want to go on and do an online course, it's on Udemy. So just type in Football Formation, Asset Allocation, and it's 4 hours of pure content. This is kind of my best stuff. And that's where I go through it's like a recipe where you go through step by step, and it will take you through each step. Whereas YouTube, there's a number of different kind of, it's not necessarily a set structure. It's just, I kind of put different videos up there to try and help as many people as possible. So yeah, hopefully that's been useful. Yeah, please, yeah, like, subscribe, and please tell a friend about my book, Millennial Money Mindset. If you like the fruits, you need the roots. Yeah, check that out. Yeah, I don't know, John, are you there? Yeah, okay.
Perfect. I'll come back in now. This has been great. And what we'll do as well, like I said, we are recording this session, which we'll be sure to send out in a follow-out email if it's by end of this week. And we'll kind of have links and kind of all those resources Neil's mentioned as well. But a huge thank you to you, Neil. Everyone who submitted your questions and engaged in the chat, you've been great. Hopefully we can see you at more events, but that's it. I think we'll wrap things up and call it a day.
Thanks so much for having me. Yeah, and thanks for everyone who attended. Yeah, I really appreciate it.
Perfect. Until next time, Neil.
Take care. Thanks again. Cheers.
See you, everyone. Bye.
Thanks, everyone. Cheers.